I want to share with you a passage that has challenged me in my life, and I know it challenges all of us, really. In Galatians 2:20, Paul wrote, "I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me." Paul no longer lives for himself, he lives for Christ. Christ is his life. Christ lives in him. And because he's died with Christ, he can live with Christ. And so I know that Paul's technically writing this about himself. I've been crucified with Christ, no longer I who lives, but Christ lives in me. But Paul's just personalizing this. And Christ didn't just die for Paul, Christ died for all of us. And so this ought to be a passage that is true of each one of us. So Christ should be our goal. Christ should be our life. And Christ should live in each of us. So I'll give you an illustration to help challenge us this morning that I stole from Gary Fisher, or stole from another preacher. But I want you to imagine going to bed at night and then waking up in the middle of the night and Christ standing next to you. And you get up out of your body and Christ lays down in your body. And you wake up in the next morning, but everything's the same. Your face, your hair, everything's the same. But I wonder what would be different that day from the day before. And I know that Paul's not saying that literally happened to him. But if we think about it in the literal term, it really challenges us to see how we ought to be living. You know, if Christ lived in me, then what would be different? How about the things I entertain myself with? The shows, the movies, the books, the media. If Christ lived in me, would those things still be the same, or would those things have to make a major change? How about the things I say, or the words that I use? Would those have to change? How about the way that I treat people at church, at work, in public, online? Could those be the same, or would those have to change? How about the things that I promote? Could those be the same? How about my home life? The way that I treat my spouse, the way I treat my children? Could those be the same, or do I really need to be challenged to have a more Christ-like attitude with those relationships? Here's the hang-up for a lot of people. I can't possibly know what needs to change if I don't know Christ. You see, the Bible is a lot of things to a lot of people. But the Bible is not just some rule book. It's not just some guide to church doctrine. It's not just some blueprint for worship or for the work of the church, and it accomplishes all those things. But the Bible is so much more than that too. The Bible is where we come to meet Jesus. The Bible is a guide to that abundance of life that Christ has to offer us. The Bible is this compass that gives us direction so that we know how to put on Christ, that we know how Christ can live in us. And the more time that we spend in it, and the more application that we make of it, the more of a residence that Christ can take in us, and he can live in us.